Hi everyone, I'm Ken Reischmann with Intertrust Group, and I'm joined by Flax, the President of Private Markets with X Machina Capital Strategies. Catherine, I'd like to get started by just asking a little bit about who X Machina Capital Strategies are and what you guys aim to do.
Thanks, Ken. It's such a pleasure to be here. And I do love talking about the work that we're doing because I feel like X Machina Capital Strategies, or XMC as we sometimes call ourselves, is a really transformational fund. And what we're looking at is the energy sector and how to transform hydrocarbon-based energy into other kinds of cleaner energy sources as we make our investments.
Take me through some of the challenges as a newer fund, right? What does that look like from building things up from the ground?
It really is been a really interesting journey, and as somebody who doesn't come out of the fund world, learning and really sort of thinking about fundamentally what do our investors need and want from us, but also really answering the why of why does the world need a new fund, and what is it that we're bringing that's really differentiated from others in this space. And so clearly articulating that investment thesis and being able to communicate that effectively is sort of the foundational element. And then on top of that, it's those building blocks of then how mechanically does it actually come to life.
And with those things, how does the team at XMC, or where does the team at XMC find the need or realize the need for third party or kind of a partnership with an Intertrust Group?
So that's really, really important to us because, as we're building essentially the infrastructure of our fund, what we need are obviously really strong internal people to do the work of making investment decisions and executing on our vision. But to do that effectively, we then need to have partners like Intertrust Group to be able to help us to deliver on that to our investors. And in particular, the experience that Intertrust has in doing this for many years for many other funds has been really important to us as we're building as a new fund.
I want to dive a little bit deeper into the ESG stuff.
Sure.
Obviously very important to who XMC is as a whole. Where does ESG fit with you guys, and how has Intertrust helped move that conversation along a little bit?
So XMC is not fundamentally an ESG fund in the sense that, to your point, we're investing in upstream oil and gas. So we are a hydrocarbon fund. And so to your point, it does feel a little incongruous sometimes to talk, well, how is that fitting in with the world of ESG? But it's the way that we're approaching it, I think, that's differentiated and recognizes that we're in this transition period as a world, and how do we build that bridge from existing sources of energy to future sources of energy, and that's really what we're doing. And it really manifests itself in a number of different ways. So there's the E part of ESG, which is first and foremost investing wisely and carefully in hydrocarbons to make it cleaner and better. So if you're under investing, that's where you get your spills and your leaks and all the things that end up really bad. So first of all, investing properly. Second of all, then looking at how to transform the property into future sources of energy. But I think for us too, it's not just the E part, as important as that is, it's also the S part. Part of it is how are we partnering with our communities? How are we creating stability for the workers that in an industry that has notoriously been volatile? And so that's an important part for us as well. And then the G part, really building good governance. And so part of the relationship with Intertrust is, I see it as sort of twofold. One is really helping us to shore up that good governance piece with leveraging the experience that you all have in being able to deliver properly. But there's also the work that you all have done in the building of the ESG scorecard and all of that, which we're very excited to begin to leverage.
In terms of relationship managing and educational pieces, obviously people have relationships throughout industries, et cetera, but with partnering with an Intertrust Group, how do those conversations get elevated to a new level?
Yeah, no, I think that's a really good question because we do have a very seasoned and experienced group at XMC, but what's different is most of us aren't rooted historically in the fund world, and there are norms and ways in which our investors and other partners have an expectation of how they interact with us. And so we've really grown to rely a lot on the work that Intertrust does, but also the advice. And so being able to pick up the phone and talk to folks and say, what do you think our investors would expect to see, in this communication or at this juncture, and getting that reliable, experienced feedback is super important for us.
And what about the future, right? I mean, we're still a pretty new relationship, but still plenty to come. What are some things you'd like to see from us and conversations or products that you'd like to see on our side that can help XMC achieve its full potential?
Yeah, I think that's a really good question. And for sure, I think we have room for growth on our side to fully leverage what we know is already there. I think the ESG scorecard is a really good example of that. And so I think that there's growth that is clear in those sorts of things. I do think that the foundation is definitely there. And I think that the vision that Intertrust has for how to deliver today and in the future is something that we're excited to grow with.
Catherine Flax, the president of private markets at X Machina Capital Strategies, thank you so much for taking the time.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.